What's going on, Sigma males? This is Alex from Sigma Spirit. We're going to talk a little bit more about TikTok today. In another video, I talked about the first 3 reasons why I thought that TikTok was detrimental to masculinity, men, and mental health. And in this video, I'm going to cover 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'm going to tell you, hey, this TikTok ban, leaving TikTok, maybe it's great. Maybe it's a great thing for men. Maybe it's a great thing for Sigma males, especially. So I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about the lead up. You can watch the first video in the link below. As a quick recap, though, I'll just say in the first 3 topics, I talked about masculinity, pain avoidance, and real oppression, what real oppression can look like, and why TikTok is bad in those aspects. So getting right into the 4th idea, why I think that TikTok and apps similar to TikTok might be detrimental to society, detrimental to men's health, masculinity, and ultimately everybody's mental health and emotional well-being. So the 4th topic, death of creativity. I think that TikTok is causing the death of creativity. Society needs innovation. We need creativity. We need problems solved. We need things to get done in the brain. So the human mind loves to solve problems. It loves to get its little fingers inside of a problem and figure it out. And notice I'm doing this motion. Why? Because I'll tell you in a second. But I think that nothing destroys creativity like giving the human mind a simple problem, easy to solve, solvable, not easy to solve, but solvable, yet it's ultimately meaningless. It's kind of like a little gimme problem. And my example is the Rubik's Cube. People love Rubik's Cubes, certain brain types. They love to figure out, can my brain solve this puzzle, this little block, this colorful puzzle? All the things are there to trigger the dopamine, the colors, solving the problem, some self-esteem from solving this Rubik's Cube, which is ultimately meaningless. So I think that TikTok is like that. It's a form of like a creative Rubik's Cube. It's a gimme. It allows people to get on there and think that they're being creative. It allows people to think that they're creating a solution, that they're innovating. But most of it is just copying other people's stuff. There's no real innovation. There's no real problem solving. There's no real creativity. And what really hurts creativity is when you tell people that they're being creative, but they're not. That's like the ultimate destruction of creativity. Imagine the solutions we could have if you told people, you're not being creative. You need to be more creative. Take that energy you're wasting on TikTok, put it into a solution that humans need. Put it into a solution to innovate your own life, to make yourself better. Maybe you're not focused on humans at large. But when you give these people this little handout of, good creativity on the Instagram and the TikTok, what really happens is people turn that side of their brain off. Oh, I'm being creative. Cool. I don't need to be creative or innovate or anything like that. And I don't think that there are as many or as few creative people as some people think. Like, I know Jordan Peterson, he talks about how most people are just not creative. They don't have the ability to do the creative output combined with the ability to merge ideas, this sort of divergent thinking, bringing ideas together. So they don't have the ability and they also don't have the output. I think that we're just seeing a lot fewer creative people right now in the world because we're giving these freebies, these little freebie passes, like a mental creative Rubik's Cube. Here, play with this for a little bit. Don't worry about creating anything important. Play with this for a little bit. That's what these devices are. That's what these apps really are. They're just a distraction. And why is this important for masculinity especially? Well, as men, in your early years, these late teen years, these early 20s, and honestly for most of us, past 25, 30, some people in our 30s, you don't have the luxury of spending hours a day on these apps. You don't have the luxury of spending hours a week on an app like TikTok, unless you're building a business or you're using it as a tool for something. You don't have the luxury. Your masculinity doesn't have the luxury of dicking around on these apps. It's going to be punished eventually. You're going to find the damage at a much later stage in life. You're not going to be rewarded like other people in society. Your masculinity is not going to reward this behavior. Consequences might be tragic. Number 5. Now, this one is very controversial, very tricky, very nuanced. I want to start by saying we imagine people right now are selfish. We think that the average person is selfish by default. We think that the average person is out for their own good. Everyone's out for their own greater good, right? I don't think so. I think that most people are out for short-term pleasure, and they're out there to fit in. And neither of those things really aid humanity, aid society, and really add to the overall good of humanity. And yet we think that everybody's being selfish. We need to be less selfish. Everybody's out there just trying to do things for their own good in the world. I don't think that's true. I think we have too many people going with the flow, not creating solutions, not being independent, not being individual. Because I think when you are an individual, you have the ability to see what would be really beneficial for you. And most of what's beneficial for you is beneficial for most people. People don't want to admit that we all share a whole lot more in common than we are different. So when you really are able to be individual, independent, and look at what would really be good for you on a deep level, you're able to see what is really actually good for humanity, for other people. And yet, the individual is criticized today. We all think, oh, people are too selfish nowadays. Be more selfless. And I think that there's, like all things, I think there's a middle ground. We need to have both. There's great things to come out of the collective. There's great things to come out of individuality. But why am I talking about individuality with TikTok? Because I think that these things like individuality, selfishness, healthy selfishness, they die when they're programmed by these apps. Things like TikTok program your own self-protection. They hypnotize your own self-protection measures out of you. They destroy that ability to say, hey, this isn't good. This isn't good for me. I shouldn't be doing this. Why am I on here for 4 hours a day? Because you're looking around and you imagine yourself. You're looking at your TikTok and you spend an hour on TikTok and you see 45 people in your feed. Well, all those people are doing it. I'll do another hour. And you see 100 more people. Well, all these people on here are doing it just like me. So I'm not weird. This is normal. So your own self-protection is destroyed. Your own sense of well-being is being hypnotized out of you. It's being hypnotized. Number 6. This is the most important topic for me. Even probably more than masculinity in this video. It's very dear to me. Narcissism and the death of empathy. So, over the last few years, we've seen empathy slowly be deconstructed. Why is that? Why, as a society who knows about Joe Rogan podcast, we know about DMT healing, we know about the effects of MDMA on PTSD, everybody's doing yoga, everybody's spiritual, we're very open, very tolerant, and yet we're not that compassionate. We're not that empathetic. Why is that? Well, I think as a society, especially the West, because my only filter really is the West and my experience in Asia. We're seeing narcissism become very commonplace. And I'm sorry, but you don't get to be narcissistic and retain some of the other good qualities. You don't get to be narcissistic and also be empathetic. They work inversely. The more narcissistic society becomes, the more focused society is on their own self, their own image, their own validation, and it's pushing down this empathy. We're watching the slow deconditioning of our own empathy. Right now in the world, we're facing problems we've always faced. We've always had these problems. These are the oldest problems in the book. And yet, why does it seem like everything's going so poorly? Why do we feel like things are bubbling over? Because I think that we've lost our ability to be empathetic, compassionate, have these rational arguments, collaborate. And it's because apps like TikTok are just feeding this narcissism, fueling the narcissism. And you can't have both. You can't be narcissistic and be empathetic. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. So, for TikTok and masculinity, what's the correlation there with narcissism? How do they all interact? Well, I think positive masculinity is when men are outward focused, present, and they're witnessing. Outward focused, present, and they're witnessing everything. They're witnessing events, witnessing feminine beauty, witnessing other masculine men, witnessing all, very present. And these apps don't allow that. They actually punish that behavior. They don't allow you to be present in the moment, engaged. They don't allow you to be outward focused, especially if you're not creating content as well. Especially if you are trying to build your own TikTok brand, making videos, you're not outward focused at all. Unless it's for a business, I understand we can use these tools. But if you're worried about how many likes you got on the video of you doing a dance remix, I'm sorry. It's not outward focused. That's inward focused. You're only focused on your emotions, your well-being, your validation. The person who I run this channel with, Michael, he and I laugh sometimes because I never watch the videos. I shoot these videos and then I typically don't watch them. In fact, I think we put out 25 videos before I was able to actually sit down and look at them and watch them. And I only looked at them for one reason, because I wanted to get better for you. I wanted to see where I could improve. This content, and I'm not saying that I'm this amazing masculine role model, but this is to answer people that might say, well, you're being a hypocrite. You have a YouTube channel. Bro, I don't watch these videos. I put these out, I express what I need to express, and this is for you. This isn't for me. So that's the difference, and that's the filter you have to see your own creativity and your own output and the things you spend your time on. Are they for you or are they for others? True masculinity is being self-directed to create something for the process, for the selfish pleasure of doing it, and then for the greater good. Masculinity is not for, this feels good because I get to see what others react to it, or I like the way I look on camera, so that's why I do it. If you want to be an actor and you think you're going to be an actor because you like the way you look, you'll never be a good actor. Look at all the famous actors right now. Most of them feel weird about watching their own films. They just create. It's pure outward focus. It's pure expression. So, let me ask you, if you don't agree about narcissism and the death of empathy, when you look around the world right now, do you think that we need more empathy, presence, and outward focus, especially in our men? Think about that. Or are we good with the alternative right now? Are we happy with what's going on right now? So the last concept, dopamine. Dopamine is everything. It's a huge buzzword right now. Everybody knows what it means. 5 years ago, it wasn't that important of a topic. Nobody knew what the neurotransmitter dopamine was. But now we're realizing that these short-term pleasure loops are horrible for us. And I think they're horrible for society. They're horrible for your masculine essence, and especially your own mental well-being. Why is that? Because we're always chasing the short-term pleasure. And in the first video, I talked about pain avoidance. But I also think that in this idle time, where we downregulate our dopamine, and we let our dopamine systems just chill out a little bit, that's where beautiful things happen. This idle time. And in a second, I'll give this idle time a name, and I think you'll like it. This idle time is where we innovate. This idle time is where we revolt. We build revolutions within ourselves, internal and external. We start thinking. The power of thought. We start visualizing. We start imagining. We start creating inside our own minds first, in this place of idle time. But sometimes the idle time is scary, and this is what I talked about in the first video. The idle time is painful, and that's why I like to call it the desert. The idle time is the desert. It's that mental desert. And men aren't spending enough time in the desert right now. What is the desert? The desert is that place where it's just you. You're stripped of everything. You're naked in the desert. You're wandering the desert. No one's there to help you. You can't look at your phone and escape from the desert. The desert is everything. You came from the desert, and you're going to return to the desert. When you were a child, you lived in the desert, and it was a beautiful place to just be in that desert. It was an oasis. And when you're older, you're on your deathbed, you're going to return to that desert, and you're going to realize everything was for nothing. And that's an amazing thing. You're going to realize that you were always stripped away. You were always nothingness, but you just filled your time to avoid the desert. And I also think that as a masculine man, you want to grow, you want to transform, you have to spend time in the desert. You have to learn to be your own best friend, your own guide. So without TikTok, you're one step closer to the desert. Welcome to the desert. You're here. You're here to just sit, face your pain, and ultimately learn how to move toward fullness, pleasure, enjoying who you are. And you really have two choices now that you're faced with this concept of, oh man, my favorite app, TikTok, is going away. The first choice, find something to hide in again. There's other apps, plenty of apps you can hide into now. There will be another TikTok, don't worry. Something else will come along. I'll give you five apps if you really want them. We can figure something out. You can hide again, and that's okay. Most of you will choose this. Most of you will go back. You'll find something else to hide in. I do it. I do it all the time. A couple months ago, I decided to stop drinking for 6 months. No alcohol, 6 months. Within a month, I had replaced the desert with a new distraction. The desert of sobriety. I got on Tinder. I got on all the dating apps. I chose to escape the desert. But I just deleted all of those dating apps. I chose to go back to the desert. I know that the desert is where I'll connect with that masculine suffering, that place of stillness, emptiness. So it's okay if you don't want to be in the desert. It's okay if you want to go back to distractions. This life isn't for everyone. This journey of truth, masculine growth, it's not for everyone. But those who want to go, take the journey, there's that second option. Choose life. Choose real life. Choose your pain. Choose to accept your pain. Choose to come face to face with your pain. Choose the desert. Choose tradition. Choose humanity. Real connection. Real human life. And ultimately true love. Real human love. So I invite you to come with me. Come with me into the desert. The choice is yours. Thanks for watching.